Let me tell you something that'll flip your life upside down if you let it sink in. The top 1%, the richest folks shaping the global economy, aren't employees scraping by on paychecks. They're entrepreneurs, investors, heirs, or people with one-of-a-kind skills. It's plain as day. If you don't own something, you're the one being owned. That's the secret millions miss. But beyond owning stuff, there's a deeper universal truth billionaires get: the law of karma in handling money, or what some call planting seeds of prosperity. It's not some woo-woo concept. It's a bedrock universal law woven into every ancient culture. So how do you start owning and sowing those prosperity seeds like they do? You follow the 10, 15, and 15-50 to 10% rule. I've used it for decades, and it's built me lasting wealth from absolute zero. Let's dive in. Listen up. There's a secret the world's richest people don't just know. They live and breathe it. It's not some complex trading strategy or a hidden investment trick. It's something most people overlook, or worse, dodge entirely. I'm talking about the first 10% of your income, the part you set aside right away, not to keep for yourself, but to plant seeds of blessing. This is your charity fund, your unconditional generosity, your act of higher service. It's the deepest secret I've learned from the lives of those who've reached the pinnacle of prosperity. You might think giving means losing. That's the primal fear that's trapped billions in a cycle of scarcity. But look at the greatest minds of our time, the ones who've built billion-dollar empires. They grasp an unshakable truth: never see giving as a loss. On the contrary, it's the eternal key, an infallible law that keeps money flowing, circling back to you, and multiplying beyond measure. Picture this: a tiny acorn, seemingly insignificant, when planted in fertile soil and nurtured by sunlight, wind, and rain, doesn't just grow. It sprouts, branches out, and transforms into a mighty oak, shading generations, sheltering countless creatures, and producing thousands, even millions of new acorns. The gap between the potential of one small seed and a sprawling oak forest is mind-blowing, right? Similarly, a small amount you give today, though it seems minor, is a seed carrying the potential for a thriving forest in your financial future. This isn't some airy-fairy philosophy or empty advice. It's a universal law etched into every culture. Every ancient truth, from sacred texts to modern financial masters. Every force you send out returns to you in kind. When you give with an open heart, with pure, selfless intent, you're guaranteed to receive results that shatter your wildest expectations. That's the law of karma, working without fail. It's like a wise farmer, and this is an ancient lesson we've forgotten. After a bountiful harvest, he never eats or sells every last bit. No way. He carefully sets aside the best seeds to plant for the next season. The result? He always has enough and then some. He never runs dry. Billionaires do the same. They don't just build massive corporations to rake in cash, they're master seed planters. You'll see countless successful billionaires with their own charitable foundations or pledging huge chunks of their wealth to serve society. They give value through products and services, take responsibility for their communities, create stable jobs for hundreds of thousands, and pay fair wages every month. This relentless giving is their greatest seed planting. They know it's the only way to keep the flow of wealth from ever drying up, instead surging back stronger than ever. So, how do you make giving a habit, a non-negotiable, a rock-solid foundation in your journey to prosperity? Here's the deal. Step 1 is making seed planting a habit, something that's part of your very core. The moment your paycheck hits your account, automatically set aside that first 10% into a separate account or a little box you call your blessing jar. The key? You never touch this money for personal spending. It's reserved solely for planting seeds. It doesn't have to be a huge sum all at once, just a few times a month, or better yet, small amounts daily. Make generosity your daily heartbeat. Even $5 a day. Think back to that acorn example. One tiny seed can grow into a towering tree, providing shade and fruit for hundreds, even thousands of harvests. Step 2 is planting those seeds in the right places, with unconditional love, pure, no strings attached, kindness. Who gets your seeds first? Sometimes it's not a big charity you see on TV, but the people closest to you who've sacrificed and built you up. Maybe it's your parents or grandparents, Folks who gave you everything and now might need help with medical bills or a small trip to enjoy their golden years. Look at billionaires like Warren Buffett. He's not just known for his investing genius, but for his humility and how he treats those around him. He's pledged most of his massive fortune to charity, showing a deep belief in reinvesting in the community, not just once, but as a lifelong commitment. Here's a lesser-known truth about the world's richest people. A wisdom tested over thousands of years. Long ago, the Jewish people had a golden principle called tzedakah, meaning justice or mandatory generosity. They always set aside at least 10% of their income to support their community and those in need. It wasn't optional. It was a core part of their culture and faith. This relentless habit of seed planting built strong, thriving communities across generations, making them influential in fields like finance. They proved that when you give systematically, your money never runs dry. It flows like a mighty river. Or seek out urgent situations where your help can make a massive difference. Maybe it's a neighbor who's just been in a terrible accident, a family struggling with a devastating illness, or homeless folks looking for a warm meal on a freezing night. When you give in moments like these, it's not just money, it's sharing, it's hope, it's boundless love. Take David Rubenstein, co-founder of the Carlyle Group, with billions in wealth. He's pledged over $700 million to charity, focusing on restoring historical landmarks and supporting education. He knows true wealth lies in creating value for society, and these acts of giving spark a positive cycle, drawing in more opportunities and blessings. Give with your whole heart, expecting nothing in return, without calculating gains or losses, without wondering, what's in it for me? Like water nourishing a tree, it doesn't expect the tree to pay it back. It simply flows and nurtures. When you do this, you're not just helping others. You're sending a powerful signal to the universe that you're a channel for prosperity. That flow will keep surging through you, bringing the very best along with it. This is the most worthwhile investment you should make every single day. Because no matter how small, always remember, giving comes first. All right, now it's time to make your money work for you, growing nonstop, even while you sleep. This is the next 10%, the part you'll use to invest, create passive income, and turn your money into the hardest working employee you've got, a relentless machine driving you toward financial freedom. Most people just work for money. But billionaires, the truly financially free, know money has to work for them. They don't rely on a single income stream. They build systems where money makes more money. This isn't luck, it's a proven science, a timeless rule of wealth. You might say, I don't have enough to invest. That's an excuse that's trapped millions in a cycle of scarcity, making them miss golden opportunities. Truth is, the sooner you start, even with a shockingly small amount, the more the power of compound interest, what genius Albert Einstein called the eighth wonder of the world, kicks in. It turns tiny droplets into vast oceans, given enough time. So, how do you turn this 10% into passive money-making machines? Let's explore the growth assets the world's richest use and how you can apply them today. At the lowest risk, and where most should start, are index funds. You don't need to pick the next winner or hopelessly predict the market. You simply buy a small piece of the entire market, like an S&P 500 index fund, investing in America's 500 biggest, most stable companies. No need to stress over charts or time the market, just let it sit, quietly growing in the background, like a mighty tree sinking deep roots and stretching tall. John Bogle, founder of Vanguard Group and father of index funds, revolutionized investing by proving the best way to diversify and score long-term gains is through low-cost index funds. His simple yet brilliant philosophy has made millions of ordinary people wealthy, turning them into savvy investors with one click. Next up is real estate. This can mean rental properties if you've got the capital, or REITs, real estate investment trusts, if you don't. REITs let you invest in real estate without buying a whole property. It's like owning a small slice of a big building alongside hundreds of others. You reap rental income and property value growth without the hassle of direct ownership or complex management. It's a solid path to building wealth over time, used by countless billionaire real estate moguls to create their empires. In the middle of the risk scale is investing in skills. This, I'd argue, is the fastest return investment you'll ever make. I'm talking about learning high-value skills that directly bring in cash: copywriting, video editing, sales, coding, graphic design. Unlike stocks or real estate, no one can take your skills away. They're your permanent asset, a treasure trove of knowledge and ability you carry everywhere, always generating value. A bit further out are online business models, things like drop shipping, selling digital products, or building content channels. These can bring massive profits, turning you into a millionaire fast, but they demand serious effort, and you've got to be ready for some painful failures before finding your winning path. This is the playground for bold visionaries who aren't afraid to dive in for extraordinary rewards. Finally, there's individual stocks and alternative investments. It's tempting to try picking the next Tesla or a crypto coin that'll moon, but unless you spend thousands of hours researching, truly understanding the company and market, you're basically gambling with your financial future. Alternative investments like crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, NFTs, gold, or collectibles can deliver explosive returns, making you a millionaire overnight, but they can also wipe you out in a blink. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's longtime partner, always advised, "The first rule of getting rich is don't go broke." He stressed caution and steering clear of things you don't understand, because blind risk can erase everything you've built, leaving you with nothing. So if you're just starting this journey, focus on what builds a real foundation, things proven for sustainability and impact, index funds, and high safe skills. As you gain confidence, knowledge, and experience, you can dip into riskier ventures, but always with control and a clear strategy. Now that you've picked your growth assets, it's time to put your money to work, turning it into a non-stop flow. The best move? Set up an automatic monthly transfer from your bank account to your investment platform, ideally on payday. That way you never see this money sitting in your account, so you're not tempted to spend it. It just flows straight to where it needs to grow. Once it's in, don't fuss over charts or try to time the market, a game even top pros rarely win. Stick with index funds. One of the most popular approaches is building a simple yet wildly effective 3-fund portfolio backed by top financial experts for steady growth through any economic cycle. First, a U.S. stock index fund. This puts your money into America's leading companies like Apple and Amazon, giants shaping the modern world. Next, an international stock index fund, covering companies outside the U.S., diversifying your portfolio and tapping into global growth while cutting risk. Finally, a bond fund, offering incredible stability, smoothing out market ups and downs, protecting your wealth during turbulent times, like a sturdy anchor keeping your ship steady in a storm. Here's the deal. Once your investments are automated, your job is dead simple, but critical. Don't meddle, don't tinker, and go make more money. The brutal truth is, the real wealth builders aren't the ones picking trendy stocks or nailing market bottoms and tops. They're the ones consistently pouring in more money over time, creating a relentless stream of steady investing. That means your focus now should be boosting your income so you can pump up those investments. This is where those high-value skills I mentioned earlier really shine. If you haven't yet, learn a valuable skill, turn it into a side hustle, bring in extra cash, and funnel it right back into your investments. That's the cycle of non-stop prosperity, a self-running money-making machine, and you're the one steering it. Next, let's talk about the mandatory 15% of your income, the part that's absolutely critical, a matter of survival. This is your 15% for stability. It's your unbreakable shield, your safety margin that keeps you standing tall through any unexpected financial storm, ensuring you stay in the game for good. Here's the thing, most people don't have a money problem. They have a stability problem. One surprise home repair, an urgent medical bill, or an unexpected stretch of unemployment, and their entire financial castle crumbles like a house of cards. Even if you're investing smartly, you could be forced to sell assets at the worst possible time, turning potential gains into real losses. That's why you need a rock-solid margin of error built into your life, an impenetrable fortress, an untouchable buffer. So, how do you build this fortress to face life storms with confidence? Step 1 is calculating your stability fund. To do this, you've got to get real about your core expenses. List everything essential that keeps you alive and running like a well-oiled machine. Groceries, rent or mortgage, utilities, transportation, and any critical services, not frivolous entertainment. Add it all up, and you've got your monthly baseline. For example, if your essential expenses total $1,800 a month, that's what keeps you alive and working. Now multiply that by 6 months. That means your ideal stability fund target is $10,800. It's the sweet spot you should aim for. You might think that number feels big, even extreme, when you're starting out. I get it, it's cautious. But from hard-earned experience and the tragic stories I've seen, when life hits, it often strikes all at once, without warning, and with no mercy. If you've only got a couple of months' savings, you won't stand firm. You won't be invincible. Step 2 is storing your stability fund the right way. Never make the fatal mistake of keeping this money in the wrong place, because where you stash it matters as much as having it in the first place. I follow 3 golden rules, passed down from the wisest wealth managers. First, it must be easily accessible. This money needs to be available within 24 hours max. Never lock it in accounts that penalize early withdrawals or make you wait years for a slightly higher interest rate. I've seen people lose their jobs and still couldn't touch their stability fund, a needless tragedy. When things go south, you need speed, not a pointless waiting game. Second, it must be risk-free. This is not money you invest, gamble, or chase quick profits with, no matter what, and I mean no matter what. Never put your emergency fund in the stock market, even the safest options. When a crisis hits, the market could be tanking, forcing you to sell at a loss. The same goes for crypto, long-term bonds, or anything meant to grow over years. This is money to protect, not to risk. Third, it must always be earning. While this isn't your growth fund, that doesn't mean it should sit idle in a zero-interest account. You want it in a place that earns a little return while it waits, without any risk. Why? If it's in a no-interest account, inflation will erode its value, making your money worth less over time. This is where high-yield savings accounts shine, turning your idle cash into a supportive force. Step 3 is building this fund fast. Most people think it takes years to scrape together a decent stability fund, but if you play smart, it doesn't have to. When I was building mine, I used 3 stacked strategies that seriously sped things up, like a turbocharged engine. First, the paycheck sweep. Take that 15% of your income the second it hits your account and funnel it straight into your emergency fund. Automate this with a recurring transfer, making it a hands-off process just like we did with the 10% for investing. You won't even see the money, so you won't be tempted to spend it. Second, the replacement pledge. This is a promise you make to yourself. If you have to dip into your stability fund, you'll replenish it immediately. Say you need $1,000 from it to fix a leaking roof. Totally fine. That's what it's for, but the next time you get paid, you put that $1,000 back into the fund like it never left. This rule keeps your fortress standing strong. Third, save by spending smarter. Sounds crazy, but it works. With Roundup apps or cashback programs, Roundup apps automatically round your purchases to the nearest dollar and send the difference to your savings. For example, buy a $4 coffee, the app rounds it to $5 and 75 cents goes to your stability fund. It feels tiny, but it adds up fast and you won't even notice. Another way is using cashback credit cards. If you're using a cashback card and paying it off monthly to avoid interest, take that cashback and dump it straight into your stability fund. Turn daily small purchases into fuel for your safety net. Once your stability fund is fully stocked, you'll feel an indescribable sense of security and freedom, an absolute confidence to face any challenge. You'll have 2 powerful options. Keep pouring that money into your growth fund to accelerate your wealth, or shift it to the final 10%, which we'll talk about next, the part for you, the well-earned reward for your extraordinary efforts. You've planted seeds, invested, and built your safety shield. Now, let's talk about the next 50% of your income. The most essential part. The part that sustains you and keeps your life running. This is the 50% for necessities. It's not a monster, it's the core foundation for you to function and thrive. Here's a shocking truth, a real wake-up call. Over 60% of high earners still live paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because most are too busy trying to look rich instead of actually getting rich. This proves you can make a great salary and still feel broke every month. It's not about how much you earn, it's about how much you waste. Look at true billionaires. They don't flash empty status. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors ever, still lives in the house he bought in 1958 for just $31,500. He drives a modest car, grabs breakfast at McDonald's, and never buys pointless luxuries. He's not cheap, he's intentional. He knows real wealth isn't what you show off, it's what's invisible. Investments, safety funds, deliberate spending choices. Plenty of people earn millions, but their lifestyle balloons and they're trapped in a cycle of massive payments. That's exactly how lifestyle creep, this silent wealth killer, starts, dragging you into a pit without you even noticing. So, how do you control your lifestyle so this 50% nurtures you, not your ego? Step 1 is getting clear on your necessities. Most people won't like this, because what they call essential today is often just disguised luxury. Real necessities are what keep you alive and functioning at the bare minimum. Rent or mortgage, basic groceries, utilities, transportation to work, insurance, and just enough clothing. Cut out anything that doesn't fit this list. Check your bank statements and cancel any service you don't truly use. If it doesn't help you live, work, or stay healthy, it probably doesn't belong in your 50% essential spending. Why cap it at 50%? Because it forces you to ruthlessly ditch the non-essential and shifts your mindset from spending to craving more to invest and give. Step 2 is tackling the two biggest spending categories, housing and transportation. Most people focus on cutting small stuff like coffee, but for the biggest impact, target these elephants. For housing, always renegotiate your rent when your lease is up. Landlords often prefer keeping a reliable tenant over finding a new one. Or consider housing hacks like renting out a spare room, house sharing, or living with family for a short stint to stack cash. Mark Zuckerberg, despite his massive wealth, is known for living in a relatively modest home and driving a simple car. He doesn't let lifestyle define him. He lets his goals shape his spending. For transportation, new car payments are the most brutal wealth killers. People lease shiny vehicles to maintain status monthly, paying for years on an asset that's constantly losing value. That's why I always say buy reliable used cars that have already taken their biggest depreciation hit. Or, in big cities, consider ditching a car entirely. This can free up hundreds monthly from car payments, insurance, and maintenance. A massive savings you can reinvest. Once you've tamed those two giants, that brings me to step 3. Use rules, not willpower. When you're tired or stressed, willpower vanishes. That's why the top 1% don't rely on it. Instead, they build systems that make the right choices automatic. This is how folks like Bill Gates, who built one of the greatest tech companies in history, stayed disciplined with personal spending. Despite having tens of billions, they have processes, not whims. When I was building my wealth, I used a simple question system to curb impulse spending. First, ask, is this an impulse buy? If not, buy it. If it is, apply the 7-day rule. Wait 7 days before buying anything non-essential. Most times, you'll forget about it. But if you still want it after 7 days, ask, are you buying for the brand or the real value? If it's the brand, don't buy. The rich don't pour money into marketing. They chase real value, cost per use. Don't chase logos, chase quality and utility. Finally, if it's about value, ask, does this truly improve your life? If it does, it's a conscious purchase, so go for it. If not, it's likely just for show, killing time, or chasing a dopamine hit. It's not worth a single penny of your hard-earned cash. Once you apply these questions, they'll automatically rewire your mind. Remember, this isn't about being stingy, it's about being intentional and fiercely aware of every dollar you spend. Finally, save 10% for upgrades and savoring life's experiences. You've planted seeds of blessing, made your money grow, built a safety shield, and mastered your spending. But here's a harsh truth too many on the wealth-building journey overlook, turning their lives into a golden prison where riches become a burden instead of joy. I'm talking about the final 10% of your income, the most vital part to keep you grounded, to ensure you don't burn out on this path. This is the 10% for your well-earned reward, for upgrading your life's experiences, for buying what money can truly get you: joy, memories, and real fulfillment. Let's be real. The point of life isn't to make or hoard money. Money's just a tool, a means. The ultimate goal is to enjoy and experience a better life, to live fully and meaningfully. If you've got enough cash to do everything you love, that's an incredible privilege. But even if you're not there yet, this 10% for enjoyment is exactly what lets you truly live and feel alive. Most people skip this part entirely, then wonder why saving feels pointless, like a brutal punishment. Here's the kicker: 92% of people who save without joy end up overspending later. Saving without joy turns into torture. Fast. That's exactly why this 10% exists. It's not an excuse to splurge. It's a sharp strategy, like a cheat meal in a diet, making your entire financial plan more comfortable, more breathable, and, most importantly, way more sustainable long-term. So, how do you maximize the impact of this 10%? Step 1 is making it guilt-free spending. To do that, you've got to see the real value in how you use this money. You can spend this 10% on anything you want, but some rewards deliver deeper, longer-lasting value, so you'll never feel a shred of guilt. First up, vacations. I'm not talking about lavish, wasteful getaways. I mean short trips, weekend escapes, moments to break free from the grind. These are investments in memories that last forever. Priceless moments money can't buy. When I was young, obsessed with building my business, I totally ignored the value of vacations. It led to burnout, diagnosed with stress-induced shingles, doctors ordered me to rest. That's when I took my first ski trip. Since then, I've made yearly vacations a top priority. I no longer see them as a waste of time or money. I view them as a serious investment in my physical and mental health, keeping me sharp, creative, and most importantly, preventing burnout again. Even the busiest billionaires know how to hit pause. Next up are hobbies and passions. Maybe it's painting, gaming, photography, collecting, or any activity that ignites your inner spark. This is an investment in your own fire, keeping you vibrant and alive. You don't always have to do what you love for money, so carving out time for these hobbies keeps your spirit upbeat and refreshed, fueling you to work harder and stay resilient. Then there's date nights and connection experiences, dinners with friends, concerts, unique events. These are another thing I ignored in my early work-obsessed years, and it was a huge mistake. I lost touch with most of my close friends. Having a solid social network is critical, especially in today's high-pressure world. These experiences nurture relationships, an invisible but priceless asset. And last, but just as vital, are gifts. I'm not talking about treating yourself, but giving to those you love. This is another area I neglected in my early days, consumed by chasing goals and building wealth. I'd forget birthdays or special occasions, so focused on the future I overlooked what mattered in the present. Truth is, I never cared much about getting gifts. But when I married my wife and we started exchanging anniversary presents, it clicked. Gifts aren't about the item. They're about meaning, connection, and the bonds they strengthen. They're seeds of love and togetherness. Step 2 is funding this account first. I recommend opening a separate bank account and calling it your joy jar. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can have multiple checking accounts with the same bank and manage them easily on a mobile app. Then, set up an automatic transfer of 10% of everything you earn into this account each month. If you make $2,000, send $200. If you make $10,000 or $7,000, the amount doesn't matter. The percentage keeps it sustainable. Just don't cheat. You can't top up this account from your investments, stability, or necessity funds when it's running low. If you hit zero, you wait until next month. Knowing this fund has limits naturally pushes you to maximize it wisely. This is exactly how you protect your big financial goals without feeling like you're missing out when friends invite you to dinner or you spot something you love in a store. Step 3 is prioritizing experiences. If your joy jar isn't overflowing yet, please prioritize experiences over everything else. People often ask me in comments, "What are you saving for? You'll die with all that money." And I get it. From the outside, it might look like I'm depriving myself, but I'm really not. I just spend differently than most. I don't need a garage full of fancy cars or shelves packed with designer gear. That stuff might look rich, but it never makes me feel truly wealthy. My 10% goes to what I'll actually remember, experiences that etch themselves into my soul. An unforgettable ski trip with my wife, an epic day at Universal Studios with my son, meaningful meetups with friends in New York, or a laughter-filled golf weekend with my closest buddies. Those are what make life worth living. Things you can't buy with cash alone, but you can buy with intentional money management. And that's everything you need to know, the complete money management rule, a detailed roadmap I've distilled from the secrets of billionaires and ancient wisdom. Remember, every dollar you manage, every seed you plant will come back to you in ways you can't imagine, multiplied beyond measure. You've learned that wealth isn't random luck or reserved for a special few. It's the result of universal principles, disciplined habits, and most importantly, a deep understanding of the law of karma. Now is the time to act, to take control and build your financial future. Don't wait another second. Start planting your prosperity seeds today, right now. If this video hit home, if it opened a new door in your mind, take action immediately. Drop a like to let me know it resonated. Share it with those you care about, people also searching for the path to financial freedom. And most importantly, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the prosperity secrets I'll share in future videos. Your journey to true wealth, rich in money and soul, starts with the tiny seeds you plant every day. I'll see you at the peak of prosperity,